In this video, we're going to look at what the Big Three wanted at the Paris Peace Conference after the First World War. This is important because their differences helped shape the Treaty of Versailles, which decided how Germany would be treated after the war. Before we look at the Paris Peace Conference, you should understand the historical context around the conference. By 1918, Germany was losing the First World War. The country was exhausted, its army was struggling, and there were some serious problems at home. By 1918, Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated. This meant he gave up his position as Emperor of Germany. Soon after, Germany signed the armistice on the 11th of November 1918. The armistice was an agreement to stop the fighting. It didn't officially end the war, but it brought the fighting to a halt. In 1919, the winning countries met at the Paris Peace Conference. Their job was to decide what should happen to Germany and how Europe should be rebuilt after the war. The most famous result of the conference was the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed in June 1919. The treaty set out Germany's punishment. However, the leaders did not all agree about how harsh the punishment should be. While many countries were represented by leaders at the Paris Peace Conference, the most influential were the Big Three. The Big Three were Georges Clemenceau, the Prime Minister of France, Woodrow Wilson, the President of the United States, and David Lloyd George, the Prime Minister of Britain. They were called the Big Three because they represented three of the most powerful winning countries after the First World War. These leaders had the greatest influence over the peace settlement and played a major role in deciding what would happen to Germany. First up is Georges Clemenceau, who represented France. Clemenceau wanted Germany to be punished harshly. He wanted Germany to pay huge reparations. Reparations were just payments that Germany would have to make to help rebuild France after the war. Clemenceau also wanted revenge for the French lives lost during the First World War. He wanted Germany to be weakened so it could never attack France again. He also wanted Germany's border pushed back to the Rhine, so French people would feel safer. Clemenceau wanted these things because France had suffered badly during the war. Large areas of France had been damaged, so money was needed to rebuild towns, villages, roads, farms and factories. France had also lost many men in the fighting. The French public were angry and wanted Germany to be punished. Clemenceau was especially concerned about French security. During his lifetime, he had seen France invaded twice by Germany. He believed that weakening Germany would make another German attack less likely. For Clemenceau then, the main aim was simple. France had to be protected and rebuilt. Next up is Woodrow Wilson, who represented the USA. Woodrow Wilson wanted a fair peace. He did not want Germany to be punished too harshly because he believed this could lead to Germany seeking revenge in the future. Wilson was famous for his 14 points, which were his ideas for building a better and more peaceful world after the war. His 14 points included self-determination, which meant that nations should have the right to decide how they were governed. They also included freedom of the seas, which meant that countries should be able to trade and travel by sea without being unfairly blocked. Wilson also wanted to set up a League of Nations. This would be an international organisation where countries could discuss problems and settle disputes peacefully instead of going to war with each other. Wilson wanted these things for a variety of different reasons. First, Wilson was an idealist. This meant he believed the world could become more peaceful if countries worked together. Second, America only joined World War I in April 1917. They didn't experience the destruction of World War I or the huge loss of life like other European countries. Therefore, Wilson didn't carry the same level of bitterness towards Germany as European countries did. Third, he believed that a harsh treaty would create bitterness in Germany. If Germany felt humiliated, Wilson feared they might want revenge later. Finally, Wilson had to think about the American public. Many Americans did not want the USA to become too involved in European affairs. They wanted America to stay out of future European conflicts. So Wilson wanted peace, but he also faced pressure from people in America who wanted to avoid future involvement in Europe. Finally, we have David Lloyd George, who represented Britain. Lloyd George wanted a cautious approach. He wanted Germany to be punished, but not destroyed. He wanted to reduce Germany's navy so Britain could remain strong at sea. He wanted Britain to gain some German colonies which would add to the British Empire. He also wanted Germany to stay strong enough to trade with Britain. Finally, he wanted Germany to act as a buffer against communism. Many British leaders feared this after the Russian Revolution in 1917. Lloyd George wanted these things because Britain had several different priorities. First, the British public were angry about the loss of life in the First World War. Many people wanted Germany to be punished for the deaths of British soldiers. However, Lloyd George also feared that punishing Germany too harshly would be dangerous. If Germany was humiliated and ruined, it might seek revenge in the future. Second, Britain also needed Germany's economy to recover. If Germany's economy was badly damaged, Britain would not be able to trade with Germany. This could lead to a loss of British jobs. Third, Britain was and still is an island. This made the navy important for defence but also for administering its empire. Keeping Germany's navy weak would help Britain remain the strongest naval power. Finally, Lloyd George also wanted to protect and build the British Empire. Taking German colonies would increase Britain's global power. His approach was a compromise. He wanted Germany punished enough to satisfy the British public, but not punished so much that it damaged Britain's trade or made another war more likely. The Big Three disagreed because each leader had different concerns. Clemenceau wanted Germany weakened because France had been invaded and badly damaged. Wilson wanted a fair peace because he believed harsh punishment would lead to future war and wanted to stay out of European affairs. Lloyd George wanted a compromise because Britain wanted Germany to be punished but also wanted Germany to recover enough in order to trade with them. These disagreements made it difficult to create a treaty that satisfied everyone. The final Treaty of Versailles was a compromise between these different aims. However, because the leaders all wanted different things, the treaty ended up being a compromised peace that didn't really satisfy any of the leaders.